Donald Trump set for a 2024 rematch.
It's a rerun of the 2020 election that is set to be one of the longest presidential election campaigns in modern American history.
The stage is officially set. Trump versus Biden as the president heads to battleground Wisconsin today.
Here in Wisconsin, politics already dominates the radio talk shows.
Here on the Dan O'Donnell Show, it's classical conservatism and contemporary style. We are partisans for truth here.
WISN listeners get a daily blast of non-stop, high-energy, right-wing rhetoric from this radio host who is very clear about who he wants to see in the White House.
Trump is the sun, and everything else in the political solar system revolves around him in some way.
You think he can win the presidential election?
Oh, absolutely.
Despite all the voters who say they'll never vote for him?
Yes, despite all of that, I mean, I honestly believe that Trump is the prohibitive favorite right now. All of the swing state polls showed him up. In 2020, Trump didn't lead in a single swing state poll, not one. He's now leading in all of them.
One campaign group is spending $50 million to try to reverse Donald Trump's momentum. Called Republican Voters Against Trump, they've made a series of video testimonials from people who have voted for him in the past, explaining why they can't support him this year.
My name is Chuck. I live in Atlanta, Georgia.
My name is Brock Cordero. I'm from Dartmouth, Massachusetts.
And I did vote for Trump. Wasn't the best decision I think I've ever made. In fact, I think it's one of my poorest decisions I've ever made.
My name is Cynthia. I am from Pennsylvania. I am a former Trump supporter and voter. I will no longer be voting for President Trump.
We can survive 4 years of Biden. I don't know if we can survive 4 years of Trump. There's
about 30% of Republican primary voters did not support Donald Trump. Now, many of them will vote for him in November because he's the Republican candidate. The question, though, is how many will refuse to. In the pretty little Wisconsin town of Waukesha, I met James Wigderson, a lifelong Republican who says he cannot vote for his party's candidate this year.
Why not? Because the man is a menace. He is a threat to the constitutional order. I will probably vote for Joe Biden, actually.
Really? You'll vote for a Democrat?
Yeah, it'll be really difficult. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden. And we can debate policies, and we can debate whether or not Joe Biden is a jerk or whether or not he's old. But in the end, what is the most important thing that we have to worry about in this country, and that's defending our Constitution. It's going to be hard, but it's necessary.
Are there enough Republicans like you who will vote against Donald Trump to stop him getting back into the White House?
I hope that there's enough Republicans in this state that had enough. They have said that they are not going to support Donald Trump in his efforts to just win the election just so he can have his Donald Trump to the revenge tour. That's not something that they want to have happen.
Wisconsin will be one of the few states that determines the election outcome this year. Voters here backed Donald Trump in 2016 and Joe Biden in 2020. Each time it was only around 20,000 votes that made the difference. If Joe Biden can keep hold of enough unhappy Republicans here, he may be able to keep hold of the White House.
Sarah Smith. Now let's get the sports news with Chris Coles.
And we start, Chris, with Wednesday evening's European football action. For a second night running, penalties were needed in the Champions League, this time in Madrid, where Atletico beat last season's finalists Inter Milan. The BBC's senior football reporter Ian Dennis was watching.
Inter's first defeat of 2024 as Atletico came from behind to force extra time and ultimately triumph on penalties with 2 saves from Oblak and Lautaro Martinez blazing over the final spot kick. Inter will rue missed opportunities from the first leg as Atletico, meek and mild in Milan, transformed with real menace in Madrid. Indeed, no side will relish a trip to the Estadio Metropolitano in the quarter-finals. Atletico are the third Spanish side through, and there is no country protection in Friday's draw. Favourites Manchester City joined with Arsenal, 2 German teams, Bayern and Dortmund, while Paris Saint-Germain complete the last 8 lineup.
Next to a remarkable game in the English Premier League, where Bournemouth came from 3-0 down to beat Luton 4-3 at the Vitality Stadium. It's the biggest comeback win in England's top flight for more than 20 years and keeps Luton in the relegation zone. Here's their manager, Rob Edwards.
We've just been 3-0 up and lost 4-3, so I feel pretty rubbish right now, and it's difficult to come out and try and make sense of it all and try and speak with control But yeah, I'm frustrated and angry, and upset because there was an opportunity there for us to take some points in the Premier League, which is hard to do, especially for us.
World number 2 Aryna Sabalenka fell to a surprise defeat at Indian Wells, beaten by American Emma Navarro in the 4th round. No such problems for Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff and Caroline Wozniacki, all through to the quarter-finals, as are Jannik Sinner and Daniel Medvedev in the men's draw. And in golf, the 50th edition of the PGA Tour's flagship event, the Players' Championship, gets underway on Thursday at Sawgrass in Florida. Chris.
Thank you, Chris Coles, with all the sport. Now, my wife has a whole drawer full of makeup. It's like a pull-out drawer thing. I mean, she's a TV presenter after all. For those special occasions, she has 1 or 2 or 3 lipsticks that are bright red. Now, hers don't usually last more than a few months. So imagine my surprise when I found out today that researchers have discovered a lipstick that's 5,000 years old. Wendy Urquhart reports.
Cherry lips, crystal skies, I could show you incredible things. Stolen kisses, pretty lies. You're the king, baby, I'm your queen. Find out.
When floods swept through the Halil River Valley, some 40 kilometers south of Jiroft in Iran in 2001, the gushing water unearthed an ancient graveyard.